So, like so. We're sitting today with Manny Lopez, and we're going to talk a little bit about who you are and what you do, and
it's a whole ass interview?
Huh?
It's a whole ass interview?
It's a whole ass interview. You ready? So, we're going to start from the beginning, because that's how every story should start, right? With you telling who you are, where you're from, and how you were raised. So, Manny.
So professional.
Yes, I have to be.
I know.
¿Quién es Manny? ¿Quién es Manny Lopez?
It's Manny Loam for the world.
So who are you? Where were you born?
So I was born in Houston,
Uh-huh.
Texas, represented H-Town.
You were raised where? What side of town? Because Houston's big.
I was born in Houston. Okay, I grew up in the Galleria area and went to Pilgrim Elementary. Then moved in intermediate school and high school to A-Leaf, and then college in Cypress. So I've been around.
You're all over Houston.
All over Houston. Right now, like, we have the business in South Houston, and I just literally been all over.
Yeah, that's. I mean, some people stay in their area. I lived in Northside for a long time and stayed there, but you're everywhere. Mm-hmm. You are all over Houston. And what is it about Houston that makes you who you are? Or like, what is it unique to you that you feel is very much about you growing up in Houston?
I think that diversity, just being, I think living in Houston. I think Houston is so diverse that it's kind of hard not to understand and enjoy the beauty of each culture. So I get really excited to go out and meet people from different parts of the world and try their food and go to different festivals. I mean, I think that's kind of made me realize or build me into who I am, like that diversity, that knowledge of different cultures and understanding myself. And sometimes not even knowing it, I do things or act ways that I probably wouldn't have been the way I am if it wasn't because of that diversity or that culture behind different people.
Yeah, and not being closed off, right? You're very open and open-minded to learning and to experiencing new things.
I think I wasn't as much. Lately I have been more open about it. I think music-wise, like I always kind of like, wanted to learn. Lately it's been more like food and understanding like the beauty of it and the spices and the flavors and the smells and then slowly understanding just how everything is, really.
And you talk about who you are, where you grew up. I know, because I know you, that you were very family oriented, right? And we're not going to cry. We said we're not going to cry today. So who makes up your family? Who is a part of your family, and what does your family mean to you?
My world. Like literally my world. Like everything I do is because I always try to do my best with everything. Everything, whether it's music, whether it's arts, whether it's any type of business, the multiple businesses that we have as a family, like everything. I think what makes any of our businesses successful is how united we are, or at least we try to be. Obviously, there's no such thing as a perfect family or a certain way to do things, but I think being united and working as a team and making it grow, it's what makes it successful. So it's a big part of me. What makes my family, I don't know how to, just makes it perfect for me. It's just the way we are, how close we are. So we're able to depend on each other and just kind of keep on going. So
I was going to say you're a very close-knit unit, right?
Yeah.
When it comes to your family, not just because you do business together, but just because you guys are like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's how you were raised, right? To be very family-oriented. Do you feel that has a big impact on how you do business and, I mean, more importantly, how you've done music, right, to this point?
Yeah, I can definitely get really attached. I've grown so much, and I've learned the hard way that you can't just trust anybody, and there's a lot of people with different mindsets, and sometimes it's okay for you to fail and understand, and you get messed over in a lot of ways. I think everybody has this, well, I'm not sure, but I feel like a lot of people think that following the music career is easy or it's just a success, or they see the beauty behind it, like beauty in front of it, but they don't see the whole struggle. I've been doing music for about 8 years now, and I've learned that you never get a diploma. You follow a career that there's never a like, okay, it's enough. Now you're ready for this step.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get like anything in paperwork or any type that says it's a guarantee that you're going to be successful. So even though like most businesses, just because you have a degree doesn't mean you're going to be successful. At least you have something to back you up that says like, hey, like you're good enough for this. Music is not like that, and I think I've learned that. And slowly, it's been kind of harder and a bigger struggle for me to kind of like push myself out. Like you can continue, you can keep pushing without giving up. I think having my family support and being united has helped me get through it. And obviously the family has grown, and I'm engaged now and just kind of going through life like with my lifetime partner. So it just kind of going through that. It just, my family's just growing. I'm growing more, and then having his support and my family's support together, it's even makes me stronger to continue pursuing this dream that there's no guarantee to be accomplished. I mean, to become reality,
So
just
with that, what has been your biggest reward? Because you're saying that as a singer, as an artist, as a musician, you don't get sometimes, that kind of recognition or the rewards that you see. What has been the biggest reward for you as a musician?
I think just being on stage, executing music, making people feel like expressing through music a feeling. I feel every song that I sing has to have some type of meaning behind it for me. I think every song that I've sang on stage, like I've gotten emotional, I've gotten some type of feeling, some type of way because of the song. So I imagine it, I dream it, I live it. So whenever I sing a song, I try to express how is that person, the writer, really like, or the lyric writer feeling that way, or how do I interpret it my way. Mm-hmm. So I'm all about interpretation, I'm all about putting in the arts, I'm all about not only enjoying it, but just whether if it's a happy song, be really, really happy, or if it's a sad song, interpret it as like a sad song. And I just love being on stage. Like just being on stage and being able to do that, it's really rewarding. I think as time has by, at first you get really nervous, and obviously nobody wants to be on stage, or at least it's not easy getting on stage. But once you do it and overcome and take that risk of like, I can do this, I can go get on stage and I can make people happy, I can make people feel what I'm feeling. That joy that I feel on stage is just amazing. And then whenever I'm in the studio, the same way, like being able to record and see the process of how long it takes for a song to become real, or a lyric to become a song, or it's a great feeling of accomplishment. It's a great feeling of like being like, I've done it, like I'm doing it, this is part of me, this is who I am. And not only that, doing music is so rewarding because it's something that I don't feel like once you do it, it's never gonna go away.
Right.
Like, people pass to other lives, pass away, and their music continues to go. For example, Selena, Juan Gabriel, like there's a lot of artists that I look up to, and Joan Sebastian, like their music still plays, whether they're here with us now or not, like their music plays. So I feel like I think a lot about the future. I think a lot about leaving a legacy for myself, and showing that with dedication and discipline and consistency, you can accomplish anything that you want. I've learned that from my parents, that you can have nothing and build something, and I always felt this want to build that legacy for myself.
Like a desire.
A desire, yeah, that's the word I was yeah.
So you're saying that you interpret the lyrics and the music the way you feel. So where does a lot of that come from? Like your culture, your background, because you're Mexican American. So do you feel like a lot of times when I think in Spanish first before I think in English, right? So does a lot of it come from that, or like your family? Like where does that inspiration come from?
Yeah, basically culture, definitely the diversity in Houston. I mean, I started singing bachata and then I went to pop and English songs. You know, norteño now. Like, it's just really the influence by what's around me. Like, I feel like I adapt to what I have, and I take advantage of whatever God has given me and, you know, brought to me, and I make it grow. Like, I don't like going through life thinking like, oh, I needed this. If I would have had this, if I would have this, I would get this. If I would have that, no, I just take, you know, get it together, and I'm like, I can build this from this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more of a problem solver more than actually complaining about the problems.
Right.
I usually try to influence others and motivate others to do the same. So that culture definitely has a lot to do with it. The diversity in Houston has a lot to do with it. Growing up, I sang from all types of genres, and then having friends from different cultures, like different, you know, Central America, South America. I have Lebanese background, so just those beats, you know, it has a little bit of influence in everything. And a lot of my music, especially now, throughout the years, you can tell that it was never a normal bachata. It was bachata with reggae. It was norteño with reggaeton.
A fusion.
Salsa. It's just fusions. It just shows not only that there's different cultures, but the diversity that Houston has, and me as a Houstonian, I'm really proud of, you know, so.
And like you said, wanting to adapt to those different kind of backgrounds and knowing that you're going to reach more people or reach a different audience if you are more adaptable.
Yeah, and I feel like people come, like once they see that and the world gets to see that, I feel like there's no Houston. There's no other Houston than Houston. So it's
right.
Like, I feel like people from around the world are going to want to come and grow up in a city like us, you know, so diverse, so unique, you know, full of culture, of color, you know, so. Makes me really proud, obviously, being a Houstonian.
Yeah.
Well, for me, Houston Mayor, no, I'm just kidding, no, definitely not.
So you talked a little bit about where you grew up and how you grew up. When is it that you like figured out that you had a passion for music and that this was going to be your industry, or the entertainment industry was going to be for you?
Elementary school. Well, I've always liked music. And I've always loved dancing, so that was always like something that I was like there. Mm-hmm. Growing up, I think my mom tells me this story that whenever I was a year old, there was a song, El Sapito, look at me, El Sapito. And she's always telling me like, man, that song used to come on. That was your favorite song. You would start jumping in the car. And then one time I just jumped in the car and I broke the windshield. So that's what she tells me. I'm so hard-headed because I was just like that. And she was so scared and I didn't even cry. I just kept dancing. She's like, the whole windshield was cracked and I don't know how you did it, but you were always dancing growing up. And then there'd never been really about, you know, predictions or in the futures or anything like that. But, you know, there was people that always were approaching me as a kid as like, you know, I see somebody in him and this and that. And there's a specific one that was in a Metro bus that my mom always talks about, and she's always like telling me, hey, you know, there's this guy that he used to say that he envisioned you in great stages and great things and accomplishing, being in the best things in the world. Mm-hmm. So I think that was always in the back of my head, like, what if that was true, or like, what if this? And I'm like, why do I desire that so much? So I just kind of continued going through that, and then knowing that story years later, like in 5th grade when they asked me, Ms. Lemos, 5th grade in Pilgrim Elementary, mm-hmm. She wanted to do a group project where you got to do stage something on your career. Like what did you want to do? You had to give a presentation. Not only that, make something crafty off of it at home as a homework project. I think it was our summer. I think it was before the end of the school project was. She was going to record everybody, and you had to do what you wanted to do when you grew up. So my mom and I was like, I just want to be a singer. Yeah. So we used to watch a lot of WrestleMania and like all that stuff wrestling. So I did like this whole drums out of a ice cream cone and aluminum paper and this little stage with wrestling figures, and we made up a band, and I became a singer. Oh. So it was a project that I bumped into Ms. Lemos like few years ago, actually, at the Galleria, and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe it. And I regret not asking her if she still had that video, because I really, 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 really hope I'm able to, reach that video from 5th grade.
Right.
So it just, after that, it was just kind of like, okay, I knew I wanted it, but I never really sang. Like, I never sang in front of my parents. And there was this song de Graciela Beltran that I would always like singing, and my mom would play. And I just kind of followed it, and I was like, okay, like, I like it. Like, but I would just kind of like sing it slowly. Mm-hmm. And then that one time we were in the car, and mom was like, hey, you have a pretty nice voice. Like, why haven't you really sang? I was like, I've always been shy. So I just kind of cut off on that. And then...
¿Cómo va la canción?
¿Cómo va la canción, really?
Yeah.
Like, it was like a heartbreaking song. Like, tú me dijiste adiós y que volverías. Yo, muy triste que quede, sabía que sufriría. Pero debes saber, vida mía, que tu ausencia, aunque me duele, yo te sigo esperando hoy y siempre, como el primer día. Y aquí guardo este amor que sufrí. Ni me la sé toda, it's been so many years. I haven't sang that song in a long time. I think I'm blushing. But, like, literally, like, I she just kind of like, oh, you have a nice voice. And, it was a girl song, so I was just like, oh, it's a girl song. It was just kind of like, I shouldn't be singing that. I'm a boy. Like, it was always like that. Oh, no. And then, obviously, we went to Selena concert in '95, and I remember being on the Astrodome, and just, we were all up in the top floor.
The nosebleeds.
So nosebleeds, like, for sure. I think that was what I remember. But I remember when I saw that concert, I was so amazed. And then the whole Selena passed away happened, and it was just like even a bigger impact for me. I'm like, her legacy, everything, and then the movie. And I feel like all that influence is like, it was kind of like the first documentary that you saw, like the behind the scenes, like the process, the movie. Like, there was not, and like nowadays, everybody has their own documentary, their process. Lady Gaga, Justin Bieber,
right?
You see it, like, the tour. But that was the first time that I actually envisioned and saw it. Like, oh wow, this is what being an artist is about. And even though her story is sad, and it continues to be sad, and it was still a big impact. And you're like, oh wow, like, you can become that. Mm-hmm. They went through a struggle. It wasn't as easy. So it made me kind of like pursue that and follow it, or have that, at least that idea. And then years later, it just kind of like, oh, choir. And I was always in high school, joined choir. And then after college, I tried to go for music. And then one day, my dad, obviously seeing my parents seeing my whole career, a friend of ours was pursuing that career of music. And he was doing pretty good. And they heard, like, his manager heard me sing. And it was just kind of like that promise. Hey, I promise you, you're going to make it. Like, you're going to get this. And decided to go for it. I decided to just kind of take that one-way ticket to McAllen and pursue music. I was nervous. I was scared.
How old were you?
I was 24, so I wasn't like young.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like, it was still on the back of my head. But when I see the opportunity, and whenever I talk about opportunities, it's very that. Like, I mean, why would I not leave everything? Whenever I was like at that level, it's like, okay, take the risk. Why not? What's the worst that could happen? It did happen. Like, the worst that happened, it did happen. Yeah, obviously, I think I tell everybody, I'm like, I'm pretty sure, like, everybody that goes through music or goes for music has that issue. Like, the promise, that easy way, the millennial way. What I had in an interview, they told me that it's like where you get to see that, like, experience that feeling that you felt. I recorded music, I pursued it, and we started getting a few recordings that didn't work out. Things weren't as professional as I had promised, and the reason I knew that was because they were doing things like sketchy ways, and it wasn't right, A lot of it was because of money, they wanted more investment, more stuff, and in reality we were giving it to them, but they weren't giving us the product that they had promised. And then whenever they were trying to showcase me and to do a show, I would tell myself, like, would I dance this? Is this a production that I will, be for, and or like that I will represent? And I didn't want to get on stage because I'm like, if I don't can dance, then how do I expect others to dance it? I talked about earlier about the whole performing, being able to express what I perform, like what I sing, and I wasn't able to express. So it was really disappointing for me. Came back, kind of went through a depression stage, gained a lot of weight. I think that's a whole thing. A lot of people think food is the way of depression, sleeping, and so I was able to kind of get back. My dad was able to push me through. My mom was able to just be there. And after that, I kind of came back to it, a production with somebody else in Houston, in a religion. He was a religious producer, and he helped me out. But there was only so much he can do because of religion, that who he worked for, and just the process that he didn't want to get involved in more than that, just that. So it would just eventually kind of like a little bit things, and continue, and then from there, it just slowly has been kind of evolution to different things, and that actually developed into a lot of opportunities. And even though the producer wasn't able to do that, I got more help, and I started doing things on my own. I started realizing how much potential and how much great things I can do on my own. How much I really knew whenever I thought the professional knew more. So with my dad's help, he started being my manager, and we started doing concerts, Colombian Festival, Puerto Rican Festival, Venezuelan Festival. I mean, most of the Houston concerts, I did them all. So I was able to do all those with bachata and with the help, and then it was just kind of like the time where it just kind of hit me that I was getting a little bit of popularity, but then my whole sexuality and who I was messing with my feelings, being scared of getting to that next level.